In the early years of the jet age, the US Navy built an airplane that looked like it had flown straight out of tomorrow. No tail, swept wings, twin jet engines buried deep inside the fuselage. It didn't look like anything that had ever landed on an aircraft carrier before, and in many ways, it probably shouldn't have. Because the Vought F7U Cutlass wasn't just a new fighter, it was the Navy trying to skip an entire generation of aviation overnight. The Navy didn't build a bad airplane. They built one they didn't yet know how to fly. I'm Bill, and this is Buffalo Air Park. Let's dive in. At the end of World War II, aviation changed almost instantly. Captured German research revealed swept wings, high-speed aerodynamics, and ideas that suggested propeller aircraft were already becoming obsolete. The Air Force rushed towards jet fighters, and the Navy faced a frightening question. Could aircraft carriers survive in the jet age? Chance Vote believed they could. Led by legendary designer Rex Beisel, the same engineer behind the F4U Corsair, the company proposed something radical, a completely tailless naval jet fighter. The result looked less like a Navy airplane, and more like science fiction. Without a horizontal tail, traditional control surfaces disappeared. Engineers created new combined controls called elevators to handle both pitch and roll. On paper, the design promised speed, efficiency, and a glimpse of the future. But aircraft carriers are not forgiving laboratories. To fly safely without a tail, the Cutlass needed an extremely high angle of attack during takeoff and landing. So engineers gave it a nose landing gear nearly 9 feet tall. While taxiing, pilots sat roughly 14 feet above the deck, peering down at the carrier as if landing from a second-story window. It looked dramatic. It also placed enormous stress on the landing gear during carrier operations. At the same time, the airplane depended entirely on hydraulic systems, among the first Navy jets to use a powerful 3,000 psi system. It offered precise control, but without manual backups, any hydraulic failure instantly turned the aircraft into something far heavier and far less controllable. And this is the moment the Cutlass stopped being just an unusual airplane and became a lesson the Navy had to learn the hard way. And then there were the engines. The Cutlass was designed around the new Westinghouse turbojets that promised impressive thrust. They never quite delivered it. Instead of the expected performance, pilots found themselves flying an aircraft that struggled to accelerate and demanded constant attention just to stay ahead of the airplane. The nickname came quickly, the Gutless Cutlass. One test pilot joked the engines produced less heat than the company's household toasters. Humor, of course, is often how pilots deal with stress, because operating early jets from moving carrier decks was already one of the most dangerous jobs in aviation, even without experimental designs. The Cutlass introduced challenges few had anticipated. Its 4 20mm cannons sat above the engine intakes, and early tests revealed that firing the guns could allow smoke to enter the engines, causing flameouts. Engineers eventually redesigned venting systems to solve the issue, but it became another reminder that jet combat introduced entirely new problems. Even stalls behaved differently. Instead of the predictable drop, the aircraft could enter violent tumbling motions, something later wind tunnel testing show could only be recovered by releasing the controls entirely and letting the aerodynamics stabilize the airplane on their own. For pilots trained on piston fighters, this required an entirely new way of thinking. At one point, the Navy even assigned the Cutlass to the Blue Angels demonstration team. It was meant to showcase the future of naval aviation. Instead, reoccurring mechanical issues and reliability concerns made demonstrations unpredictable, and the team soon returned to more dependable aircraft. The lesson was becoming clear. The Cutlass wasn't failing because pilots lacked skill. It was arriving before naval aviation fully understood how to operate jets at sea. One of the strangest moments in Cutlass history came in 1954. After a launch malfunction, a pilot was ordered to eject over the ocean. He did, safely. But the unmanned aircraft stabilized itself and continued flying, calmly circling near San Diego for nearly half an hour before gliding into the Pacific in a remarkably controlled landing. For a brief moment, the futuristic fighter seemed almost peaceful, a machine finally flying within the narrow envelope it preferred. By the late 1950s, the Navy quietly retired the Cutlass. Accidents had taken lives, 4 test pilots, and more than 20 naval aviators, a sobering reminder of how unforgiving early jet development could be. Future astronaut Wally Schirra later described it as an accident waiting for a place to happen. But history is rarely that simple. Because the Cutlass also taught the Navy invaluable lessons about jet handling, carrier procedures, hydraulic systems, and engine requirements, lessons that directly shaped safer and far more successful aircraft that followed. Some airplanes win fame through combat, others succeed in quieter ways. The Vought F7U Cutlass helped naval aviation survive one of the most dangerous transitions in history, the leap from propellers to jets, even if it paid a price few aircraft ever have. It looked like the future. It just arrived before the future was ready. And that wraps up another tale from aviation's stranger side. Until next time, keep your eyes on the skies.